Hi and welcome to Spiritual Link, the podcast, a podcast about how developing your spiritual well-being can help you in your daily life and how that can enhance your confidence in who you are and what you are. The podcast is hosted by Ines and Tor. Ines is a development medium with over 30 years of experience in the field, and Tor has been her apprentice since 2013. In this episode, we continue talking about extrasensory perception. You can support us by sharing the episode on your social media channels, subscribing to our podcast, and leaving a review. Remember, you can always find us on @spirituallinkco on Instagram. Hey Ines.
Hello, Thor. Hello there.
How
And
you
how are
been?
you?
I've been okay,
Fine,
thanks. Yeah.
good. Cold, yes, but yeah, lockdown-ish, but that's okay. I've been seeing some really interesting things on the BBC, how individuals are entertaining themselves. One chap was trying to pretend he was a lion. And through his pretending to be a lion, he was doing various exercises in what looked like an immensely tight little space, which I think was his flat. But it's, just to do something like that, good for them. We're going to survive. Yeah, we're going to survive.
Yeah, I suppose we have to do something, right?
We do, yeah. Yeah. It was only body language that made it. He didn't roar like a lion or, put on a little tail or costume. It was just he tried to move like a beastie. So it's okay.
So he hadn't lost his mind then, though, right? It was sort of intentional.
Yeah, I assume so. He had a really great smile. So I'm assuming he was enormously pleased, to be on BBC. He was on news. He was pleased to be on the BBC, which I think is also good. And also pleased with his own movements, okay? The BBC crew, the ones sitting on the panel, were very quiet. It's nice, It's okay. It's okay.
Trying to be pleasant.
Yeah, exactly. But I love it. I love it. I love it when somebody's performing something that is so, let us say, not amateurish, but just so real. That I can see myself doing something just to keep myself busy. It is not high end. It's not high end gymnastics or high end performance, but I'm going to do it just to keep sane. That's so, I admire the guy. I admire everybody, and especially those that are giving us a bit of time to listen to our next episode of Extrasensory Perception.
Which I think was such a great place to start. And I thought the previous episode just gave such a good foundation in what extrasensory perception is. I'm looking forward to seeing what we will be discussing this week. If this is your first time tuning into our podcast and listening to extrasensory perception, please do go back to the episode previous to this one, because this is a continuation of the last one.
Brilliant. Okay, wonderful. Okay, may I start?
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
All right. So extrasensory perception, of course, is the extra perception. And what extrasensory perception means? To perceive means to understand. To understand, to perceive what we are drawing from one of the five senses. So as we are drawing that perception of understanding from someone else's sense, that becomes extra, because we are making the effort of understanding or drawing from that individual what they are about, what they are planning to do, perhaps, what their intentions are. That is extrasensory perception from the five known senses. So usually what we have been saying, of course, that it is a one-to-one perception. One of us is sending a thought and the other one is trying to pick it up. Yes, however, usually in psychic development circles where there are, say, more people, or in seminar there are even more individuals, you have one person sending, but there could be 500 people also in that environment who are trying to pick up the one thought that is being sent by that particular sender. So you have a 500 to 1. But when that when that situation happens, what we're doing, of course, is a very fine-tuning situation. So you would find that the person or persons that get the right answer are the ones that are concentrating or focusing the most, or have that ability the most to perceive what is being sent and understand what is being sent by that particular sender. So that is a thought situation. But when we come to thought, the thought comes from from within ourselves. I'm not digressing, but the aura readings that are around us, that is also done. The aura also contains all of our thoughts, our intentions, our feelings. So we have an aura. Everything that is a living situation has an aura. A hill, which is part of the world, is also has an aura. The little flower that grows in the meadow also has an aura. It is a living situation. So the aura, if we move from extrasensory perception, not moving, however, explaining that divination is also part of the extrasensory perception. So we have the 5 known senses: smell, taste, feel, hear. So if we go from one sense to the other, we can have an extra sense. So we are in the meadow. We are in front of this little dandelion, and we put our little loving hands gently around this little daisy. We can feel the aura of the daisy. What do we feel from the daisy? We could possibly feel that a little fox's tail had gently brushed again against this daisy as it is walking through the meadow to its little den. That is what we're able to perceive from this little living situation. And that can also be classified, another name, flower clairsendience. But it is still part of extrasensory perception, because the little daisy does not say, "Good morning to you. How are you? Guess what? A little fluffy fox's tail has brushed against me. Isn't that nice? It felt so good." So the daisy does not say that, but its aura would retain the memory of the little fox's tail brushing against it, and that is flower clairsendience. Flower clairsendience is also individual. Some individuals are now lying in this field with a little daisy, holding the little daisy around, but gently, just not grabbing its little stem and breaking it, just gently so we can feel the aura. Some individuals with flower clairsendience need to start from the bottom, some need to start from the top, some need to start from the middle, means it's preferential. So let us move away from the little daisy in the meadow. We've moved on from that. Extrasensory perception, which would also fall in the lines of, let us say, a divination. Some individuals are very apt of discovering water. The aura of our own personalities is stronger than the daisy. So we are able to pick up the daisy's vibrations. Our aura as a human being is also stronger than the water around a stone. The water also has an aura, also has vibrations. So if we are divining with divination with water, for example, we can actually feel the water that is necessary. Really handy if we go to Saudi. Nice thing on your CV. We could actually be able to feel from our own aura the aura of the water that perhaps lies a mile beneath the soil. We can feel that. Now then, some of you who are very knowledgeable on this topic anyway will know that if we go to Uri Geller, who bends spoons, or he also has divinated water, he uses, in addition to his own force of divination through his hands, he uses a crystal wand, a clear crystal wand. A quartz crystal wand is what I'm trying to say. And that, of course, enhances the power and the magnetism of his own ability for divination. So he will be in a helicopter, which I know is correct, and he will go over a certain area, designated to him, and he will find and be able to find water. I've tried this out, not in a helicopter, trust me, but with little divination rods, where you break off a twig, and that it comes into a V shape. And the V shape, of course, would be, it goes into a point. So you have two little branches, and the branches are joined, goes into V shape. The V shape is the little bit that directs, oh, here's water, and so on and so forth. So here I was holding the two ends of the divination rod, and this was out in the country, okay? So anyway, they might make you laugh. There I was concentrating, woo, 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 and testing out if this actually worked with this divination rod. Crystals, I can see the logic, but divination rod, sort of out of a bit of wood. Anyway, it went and went, and I found it, and I homed in. And so anyway, so I had a group of people with me. Also the farmer whose field it belonged to. Anyway, kind of long story short, I did find water, but it was a water pipe. But all I'm saying is I found the water, even though it wasn't in the Gobi Desert. I did find it, even though the water pipe was underground. I did not know the water pipe was underground. So yes, the divination does work. I found it. I've linked in with the aura. My aura linked in with the aura of the water that was deep down. And also, of course, what we're also able to do in exactly this situation, we are able to divinate for oil. We're able to divinate for gold, precious metals, and so on. It's like an antenna. It's a little similar to, let's say, the what are they called, Thor? Those metal detectors. Metal detectors to find Roman coins and it would be easier to use a metal detector. I do not disagree with that. However, as a human being, we are able to detect, to divinate the minerals. We're able to link in. We are able to link in with the aura of the minerals that are within the earth. Everyone has this ability for divination to certain degrees. We can't all be Urigali, of course. However, as I mentioned, I was able to divinate with water, with this little rod of mine. I was also able to do it. I would not put myself forward to divinate water or oil for Saudi or anybody else, but I know it is possible because everyone has that ability. So basically, of course, in any way, to find the water, perhaps a mile beneath the earth, to find, of course, gold, all manner of minerals. What is the fact of the concentrated effort that is able to be engendered and induced for our mind to find and to link with that situation. Now, some people won't be able to do it simply because either the interest isn't strong enough, the concentration maybe is not strong enough, whatever it is. But it is aura to aura, and extrasensory perception works on the aura to aura situation. So with that in mind, we move on to an area which is still very much extrasensory perception. And extrasensory perception, which is not only divination, is also the area of emotions. Every emotion has a different vibration, of course. And they would also, these emotions and the same senses are in the same part of the brain as would be the divination of oil, of water, of what we are picking up from another individual. And usually, if we talk about the emotions, of course, it's only either or. Either there's an acceptance or a rejection. And if there's a rejection of an emotion, it becomes either vehement sometimes, And that moves into can sense into a sense of hate, which of course is the complete opposite of acceptance. So we have the two opposites, but we're also creating a total balance of oneness. But the same area of the same area controls hate and love. One is rejection, one is acceptance. So what I'm getting at is our own emotional reactions to other individuals. If we have great love for something, there are many degrees of, as I just said, of rejection and acceptance, which formulate the phrase of love and hate. But love and hate come from the same part of the brain, using the same senses, no difference, in exactly the same but completely different ways, which would create a balance. It's very difficult to completely speak about this because it's totally complex. Obviously, it's very, very complex. But all of the senses have the same purpose in bringing it to a point of understanding of acceptance or rejection. So you can say the same if we are angry or if there's a calmness, exactly the same. They're two opposites, but they are also brought forward to another part of the brain in this sense to find whether it is acceptable or rejected. So we come back to a yes or a no. So everything more or less, as I just said, is an acceptance or a rejection. So we talk of the five senses, which are the lifespan. The lifespan is the palm of our hand, 5 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can also always remember that, because all you ever have to do is hold up your hand, and that is the lifespan. The 5. It is the lifespan of life. It is also the span of music, which is an octave. Very, very easy, in essence, to remember, is it not? So when we come to, of course, again, we are still on extrasensory perception. Same area, a balance, of course. When we are talking about love, how we deal with love, and if I start with the most basic situation, do we need love for the procreation? Of course we don't. It can be we can do it out of love, but it doesn't always occur from love, does it? So we cannot actually understand love in that sense. Love is a word. Love is always purely physical. Nothing can be outside of the physical of what we're talking about, because all of the senses we feel if somebody touches us. Do we feel if we are touching the aura of somebody? Sometimes there can be a recognition, such as a tingling feeling, but it is still not a physical touch as that. So when we talk of the emotion of love, we can only speak of the physical reaction that we have. But it is also part of the mind which is geared towards something or someone, something or someone. It is an emotional situation. However, it is still aura to aura. Now, love is used in a very flippant way, is it not? So flip to say, if you love some food, do you love the food? Do you like it? How do you know you like or love the food? Because then you will have the taste buds to tell you. If you love perfume, you cannot love it, but your senses would tell your mind that it agrees with what you smell. It is therefore a matter not how that word is used, but how it is a direct communication through one of the senses in that part of the mind, with which it collaborates with the needs of that mind. So it's not the word that we use. You like the smell, the taste, the hear, blah, 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 the situation. But that situation, extrasensory perception, is in direct communication with one of the senses in the part of the mind which collaborates with the needs of your mind at that moment. And that is also love. And that, of course, it's like an antenna. But what you feel in that sense of what you say, smell, what you feel in the sense of taste, or what you hear sometimes. I love that music. You can't love music. You don't love it. What you can do is to appreciate it because it moves into your mind and would suffice the need that is there in the sense of music, so your mind relates to it rather than loving it. Your food you relate to because it has corresponding thought patterns within your own mind. It's very much like a robotic situation. Sometimes in the forms of personalities, so what can I say? Relationships, friends, relationships, lovers, or whatever it happens to be. So personalities that one loves can be also the recognition. So when we love somebody, say we love someone, can also be the recognition of perhaps a karmic situation that has happened before, but brought forward again. But the mind still has the memory and would still recognize that the personality which approaches. So the aura thing, oh, I like you, no reason whatsoever, but it is the mind recognizes. The sixth sense brings forward the recognition of another time. That is also extrasensory perception. So we are, so the senses are of touch, feel, smell, taste, hearing. And are we not, those are the senses we have. And the sixth sense would be that which recognizes the part of the mind that everything would come forward to in the same way as a nerve would feel pain. It is not the nerve that would feel the pain, but the nerve sends the traumas of pain to the part of the mind which recognizes it as pain. And if we can use that in the context for a moment, as an analogy with love, it is a recognition. It's a recognition form, but not explainable. It means that it recognizes that which is necessary within yourself as an individual. The same way as religion, the same way as any belief. It matters not if it is political or whether it is from the point of view of philosophy. Nothing matters. Some can learn, some can't. But always it is a form of recognition, individual recognition. And love, as we all know, is individual. We could stand and have this podcast till the cows come home, from now until the end of time. And it would not be explanatory, the fullest possible sense as to what that meant. What does love mean? We can only ever skirt around us, or perhaps use analogies. So I think it is certainly we are attuning our senses by even discussing extrasensory perception and realizing the depth of how we use our extrasensory perception every moment of the day. When we go for a walk, our lonely little walk now, or maybe a correct distancing walk, perhaps we can smell the moist leaves. Maybe we can smell somewhere along the line somebody's brewing coffee. It all hits a certain nerve within us that makes it acceptable, agreeable. The moment becomes wonderful. It lifts our spirits for ourselves. So when we talked last week also of psychology, Yes, it's very true. We do use extrasensory perception when we use psychology in the truest sense. But extrasensory perception is not in the sense psychology. Psychology is a learned science, but the word that we're looking for, intuition. Intuition is the basic right of everyone, and we all have it to different degrees. It is an intuitive feeling. So to get it mixed up possibly is very possible, because the two are familiar as well. But one is a controlled science and the other is a natural function. So you can practice at home. We have Zooming, we have WhatsApp, we have all kinds of situations. Try it, practice it, see what happens. But we use it almost every moment of our life. Even when we're turning on a television program, it may be our pet show. All of a sudden you see flaws in it, because no longer does your mind relate to that particular program at this particular time. Okay.
So I suppose my question to you there, Ines, is what we're trying to, or what we're saying that by using, or so like ESP in so many ways, does it extend the depth of, can it extend the depth of an experience, basically, when you're eating something or you're feeling something or you're touching something? So you're saying that ESP is always involved with it, but I suppose if you, so let's say you practice your intuition, ESP, whatever, can you like experience it more deeply?
I think you become more aware of
Right.
of our surroundings. That's
Yeah.
how I feel it is. If we take let's say love,
Yeah.
which also works on extrasensory perception. However, it can also incorporate the karmic pattern of a past life or past existence, where you really, as I believe I mentioned the last time, all of a sudden can't stand that person. They have done nothing to you. There's a nice smile. They're buying you a cup of coffee. You don't like them. And you physically, we try to analyze why. But then all of a sudden, oh God, that's amazing. Again, it's the same thing. So at all times, we're using our spiritual link, but the spiritual link from within ourselves to ascertain who and what is going on around us. And the extrasensory perception comes in if we're interested enough in our surroundings, such as I said, you're sitting down, your hands rest on a table, and you get a sort of deja vu feeling, which is again a different subject, but you become connected with the aura of the person who had held their hands before. In divination, it is correct. Many people, the extrasensory perception, I'm not at all, what I was going to say, I do not suggest you do this. I know people do this with the use of the pendulum, which we can go into in another time. However, you have an assortment of vitamin pills or maybe homeopathic remedies. Focus, and then you allow the pendulum, yay or nay, over whichever assortment of tablets you have to select the one that is relevant to you and to your lifestyle. So that is also extrasensory perception, or even though then the title comes, let's say a pendulum practice. What is pendulum practice? It's extrasensory perception. So we're just using different names to desperately try to understand what we're doing. It's a labeling, but it's still extrasensory perception.
Yeah.
Because the aura of the pill will be picked up by your aura, which is also a spiritual connection. I don't mean mommy and daddy outside and in La La Land. I'm talking about the spirit within, which knows what your body needs. It can be confusing, but your own aura will pick up yes or no. That again can be superseded by our own will. I want that pill, so it will say yes. Clear mind is bottom line. Focus is the bottom line. That is the beginning and the end to make things happen in any of these areas.
Mm.
Because I know I made that mistake too. Yes, I wanted something badly enough. Of course, I said yes. I needed it. It was wrong. So
Mm.
yes, it becomes excess. Everything is extrasensory perception. We just put a little different title around it. Nothing else.
Yeah, I suppose we're all human in the end, right?
Very much so, and we're meant to be human. Yes, it's okay.
Oh, how
Yes.
boring. No.
Oh, but I know how boring. Yes, I know. Yes, walking on water will be the last session we do. Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
that would
Yes.
suffice, wouldn't it? Walking on water.
That's right. Or turning water in wine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Especially probably be more expensive now coming from France. Yeah.
Well, yeah, most certainly is. We definitely need to be able to create water into wine. So,
Yeah.
what's a positive message for the week for our listeners?
I think the positive message, hopefully, listening to this, are the enormous resources and abilities that we have to get through life, We can't change it. It's nature. But our own diversity and our own strength of will, which everybody has, we can. And I'm 100% certain that some incredible individuals with incredible new jobs will emerge. We will not go under.
Mm.
And I really would really like to hear from, we would like to really hear from anyone who does something. God, I have nothing else to do. What about that young girl that she was on BBC, after first lockdown, not a bean to her name. She's just about making ends meet, just. And she was living by the seaside, and she started collecting all certain bits of plastic. She had certain bits of plastic in mind. And then she was able to manage to buy some recycled, sort of like a size of a card, not a calling card, but sort of just a card, a birthday card, or whatever you make out of it. And it was the sort of brown paper with little frilly edges on it. And on every sheet, she pasted bits and pieces of this, obviously they're cleaned, etc., of what she found on the seashore. And they were most divine, interesting cards that I've ever seen. I'd love to send them on. I'd love to have them as a little birthday card or a little thank you card. They were absolutely inspirational.
Mm.
She had one room that she was living in. She had nothing to her name, but she did make a business out of that. And certainly after being highlighted on the BBC, I really, really hope that she makes success out of it.
Yeah, yeah, I hope
Yeah,
so too.
yeah. Mm.
So, creativity, basically, I suppose, is
Yeah,
the
and we've got
message.
it.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of your own creativity.
Well, thank you again, Inez, for another lovely week, and we will be back again next week.
Yes, yes, yes. Take care. Stay
Take care.
safe.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Spiritual Link, the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or wants us to explore a topic, please reach out on our Instagram account @SpiritualLinkCo.